Have you heard about the shocking paper doll murder case in Heilongjiang? This man used chicken blood and cinnabar to paint the paper doll's face. The paper doll came to life at midnight and tried to kill him with a stick. Welcome to the Ghost Chronicles, the paper doll murder case. The story is set in 1992, in a small village in Harbin, Heilongjiang. That year, Numa stayed home after failing the college entrance exam. His father, Niu Tianba, sent him to his uncle's house to learn a craft. His uncle was a famous paper craftsman, said to make paper dolls that could move. At first, Numa was still skeptical. But one night, he was almost killed by a paper doll. He remembered his uncle had to go to a neighboring village, leaving Numa at home to work. When leaving, he warned Numa, after making the paper dolls and horses, never paint their faces. Wait until he returns for this step. Numa saw this and agreed. His uncle had told him many times. After his uncle left, he started making paper dolls. The task his uncle gave him, because someone needed these tomorrow. If not made today, there wouldn't be enough time. Numa had done this work hundreds of times before, and quickly made the frames of the paper dolls and horses. Then he applied the pre-made paste all over the frame. After finishing, he pasted the straw paper on the frame, taking half a day, and completed a paper doll's shape. When he turned to find the paint for the floral clothes, he felt something was staring at him. This time, the paper doll gave him an indescribable feeling. By now it was almost dark, but his uncle did not return, as said. Numa looked at the paper dolls and horses. Thinking someone would pick up these goods tomorrow, he decided. Picked up the brush his uncle used, and started painting the paper doll's face. This was his first time painting a paper doll's face, and his hand trembled uncontrollably. After calming down, he started painting the face. Numa was responsible for the blackboard newspaper at school, and the face he painted looked more realistic than his uncle's. With his skillful work, several paper dolls and horses were quickly painted. Looking at the paper dolls he painted, Numa was overjoyed, thinking his uncle would praise him when he returned. But he waited until his uncle had returned. Numa went to sleep. After midnight, strange things happened. Numa, sound asleep, was awakened by a noise, sounding like it came from the outer room. Numa thought his uncle had returned, so he got up to open the door. But when he opened the door, there was no sign of his uncle, so Numa thought he misheard. A horrifying scene occurred. A shadow holding a stick appeared behind him. Numa hadn't recovered from the shock when he was hit on the head with the stick, and the blow was strong. It knocked Numa into the yard. When Numa got up and saw who hit him, he was covered in goosebumps. The one who hit him was the paper doll he made. How could this be? He didn't have time to think. As the paper doll swung the stick again, Numa was terrified. It seemed the paper doll wanted to kill him. At this moment, his hand touched a sickle used for cutting grass, so he picked it up and slashed at the paper doll's leg. This tore the straw paper on the paper doll and broke the wooden strips inside. But when he looked at the paper doll's face, he found it showed no discomfort. It smiled eerily. This scene almost scared Numa to death. He went crazy slashing at the paper doll. But even though he slashed it into pieces, the paper doll still moved. It raised the stick and swung it at Numa. Numa was in disbelief and raised his arm to block. At that moment, the paper doll caught fire. His uncle had returned, and seeing the paper doll come to life, he brought a torch to save him. Numa saw his uncle and quickly told him what happened. But his uncle interrupted him and told Numa to bring out everything he made today. Then he burned them all. Looking at the burned paper dolls, his uncle said to Numa, "Now you know why you weren't allowed to paint the face. Painting the face of a paper figure is particular. It can't be too different or too similar to a cow or horse. It was painted too realistically. Plus, the paint was mixed with chicken blood and cinnabar that caused the paper figure to come to life and become malevolent. This paint should only be used before the paper figure is burned." After this incident, Numa became more mature and more stable. He didn't dare ask his uncle to paint faces again. Maybe only his uncle, with years of experience, can master the art of painting faces on paper figures. Zhao Hongshu.